Okay, I unmuted. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for coming to the show tonight. I already saw that there's some new people like ERRT Radios here and Ronald. Hang on, I'm going to scroll up here a second. Ronald, who I don't know, but I think I'll get to know them as time goes on. Anyway, welcome to the show today. So I have to tell you, I really wanted to talk about how our ability to communicate our opinion, especially if it goes against the mainstream narrative, is being suppressed. I'll say it like that. I think you're all mature adults that understand exactly what I'm talking about. And you know me well enough. And I really wanted to talk about it. But, and here's my but this show streams to Facebook, this show streams to YouTube. And my fear was that if I actually shared my opinion about not being able to share my opinion, it would get taken down, or I would get a thing that says, you're just posting this to get likes, which seems to be the new get out of jail card that you see online. Anyway, so I've been talking about this on the show for a number of weeks, and I'm finally going to do it. There is no way I can do this presentation in 15 minutes. And so I decided that for the next couple of weeks, I'm just going to do the same presentation until it's done. I figure it's going to take me 2 or 3 weeks to get through the whole thing. It's about an hour's worth of material. But, okay, here's the exciting part. And there's a few people that have been wanting me to do this presentation. I'm talking reptilians. Yes, we will be talking about myth and reptilians. And so, like I said, I'm going to go for about 15 minutes. And then the next week, I'll pick up where I left off and go for another 15 minutes. And so, if you miss an episode, you can catch up, because the shows are available online to watch. And because this is a presentation that I've done like out in public in front of people, I even have a PowerPoint. So how cool is that? Not only, okay, you don't get to see me being cool and funny because I'm just going to block myself out and then I can put my glasses on and actually see. But I'm just you're going to get imagery because I figured out how to get pictures on here and not share my screen. Kind of a pain in the butt, but it's all good. It's all good. So anyway, and hopefully this is going to work. All right. So what I'm going to be talking about today is reptilians and underground bases. And again, I will be talking about this for the next few weeks until I'm done. And then, who knows what I'm going to talk about. So for the people that know me and the people that don't know me, I am really not a contemporary ufologist. I can kind of talk to you a little bit about Roswell and, about some of the stuff that's going on. But as far as like digging deep into contemporary ufology, it's really not my thing. I am definitely, however, an ancient alien girl. The older it is, the more I like it. And so what I am going to present is, can our mythic record support the claims being made in contemporary ufology, especially when it comes to talking about reptilians and underground bases? Because I have to tell you, when I heard this and kind of did a little teeny bit of research, not a whole lot, it fast became my favorite conspiracy theory. Because people, okay, so like on a dating site, one of the things like that I like talking about conspiracy theories. And I had this guy ask me, so what's your favorite conspiracy theory? So of course I have to be like, well, the fact that there are reptilians living in underground bases that are controlling the world. And then he still talked to me, but he thought I would say like JFK, which that didn't happen. Anyway, so that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so this is where it all started, is in a little town in New Mexico called Dulce, which is located in the Archuleta Mesa on the New Mexico border. Now, what's interesting is where this base, the Dulce base, where the reptilians supposedly are, is also in the same geographic area where, if you remember when there were all the cattle mutilations going on, there was a lot of episodes of cattle mutilations happening also in that same geographic area. So, kind of tying it together. Okay. So the first person that in contemporary, I'll say contemporary ufology, that brought this to the forefront was a physicist and an inventor named Paul Benowitz. And so, and I'm going to air quote this, he discovered an underground base occupied by reptilians. But what he did was that he used equipment and intercepted electronic signals that he believed were coming from deep below the ground. So there were these electronic signals coming from deep within the earth, and they were directed to a target, to a point that was too high for human activity. So it was up in, I don't want to say in space, but up high where we couldn't access it. And so Benowitz believed, and I don't know where he got this part, but it's attributed to him. He believed that lizard people, aka reptilians, were engaged in developing advanced technology in these underground bases, including genetic engineering. Conspiracy theorists took his material and added in another piece to it that suggested that these reptilians were controlling the government in order to gain control over the earth, and they were doing this via the New World Order. But he wasn't the only one that brought this story to the forefront. So there was a guy named Phil Schneider, who is supposed to be an engineer that worked for the government. Now Phil Schneider, if you look him up like on YouTube, I don't know if it's still there, but there are presentations that he has done talking about his experiences in these underground bases. But he claimed to have helped build the Dulce base in 1979. There are many people that believe that there was already an underground base, and I'm going to say more of a underground cavern, an underground area, and that the government came in and modernized it, put in lights, put in roadways, that kind of things. But as they were working on it, there was an encounter with the aliens during construction, and a gunfight broke out. And during that gunfight, like, one of the things about Benowitz is he's missing a finger. And so supposedly during this gunfight, he was injured. But apparently a peace deal was brokered with the beings, and, everything's been hunky-dory ever since. Another person that threw cards on the table was John Lear. So John Lear is a military test pilot, was a military test pilot. I think he's still alive. And his father was Bill Lear, the founder of Lear Jets. So if you're hearing Lear and going, huh? Yeah, his dad was the Lear Jet guy. And I interviewed John Lear on my radio show, has a bunch of very interesting thoughts on things. But he claims that he received, because he was definitely in the know and mixed in the government stuff. that he received 4 independent confirmations that the 7-story structure at Dulce was real. So the question that we're left with is, could it be true? Could it be that there is this base deep within the earth that is inhabited by reptilian beings? And so here are the key claims that are being made, that I'm going to say bring forward during this presentation over the next several weeks, that reptilians live in underground bases, that they possess advanced technology, including genetic engineering, and that their goal is to control the world via the New World Order. Okay, and I'm looking at the clock. Okay, so I'm going to do one more slide because it's a long one, and then we will stop because I'm moving into a new section. Okay, so I need to kind of lay some groundwork as far as where we're going to go. So in part 1, I'm laying some groundwork as to where we are moving forward in these next episodes. And so when many people look at myths, they just think that they're stories, they're fanciful narratives of people's creative imagination. They think that they are exploring nature and telling stories about lightning in the sky or aspects of ourselves and our personality or something that has to do going on in our world. But when you survey myth from around the world, one of the things that you find is that there is a level of consistency, one culture to the next, kind of regardless of where you look. So for example, and so this has been my criteria, when I wrote my book, E.T. Chronicles, What Myth and Legends Have to Say About Mankind or Humankind, Stepping Out of Eden, they were both written and researched with this philosophy in mind, is that if there is information that I find in a culture in like a Sumerian text, and I find a similar text coming out of Egypt, I'm like, okay, it could have traveled. But if I find a similar story, in the Americas, and one of my personal favorites, if I could find that same story in Australia, I would be like, ding, 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 ding. Because how would it get there? I have my theories, which I'm not going into. That would have to be a different episode. And so the statistical probability that cultures around the globe are all reporting on the same phenomena in a very similar way, to me, lends credence to the fact that what they're saying and what they're expressing is true. Many scientists sit there and say, well, they went from being cavemen and, that they were primitive, but they were not primitive enough to be able to build the pyramids, which doesn't make any sense. And that they didn't know or weren't able to describe what was right in front of their face that they could see with their own 2 eyes. Anyway, so when you start looking at this global narrative, what you do is you find a pattern around the world. And so I'm going to put this little teaser here. So what does myth have to say? So this is just a teaser, have to say about reptilians and their underground bases. So when you are talking about the group that I would refer to as reptilians in a contemporary sense, are often referred to as fertility gods. They're associated with water. They are depicted in their behavior as being mischievous. They're tied to the creation of humanity and as well as the education. And in art, they're often depicted as a half man, half snake, or half fish. I'm going to leave it there because we have a lot of information to cover. I think that's a good stopping point. And so next week, what we're going to talk about is first the underground bases. And once we're done with that whole section, we're gonna talk reptilians, but you have to kind of like set the stage before you bring the actual reptilians in. So this was a great introduction. Again, next week we will start talking about the underworld. I would love for you guys to let me know what you think of this as far as our intro thing. Again, I wanted to talk about something else, but I didn't. How's that? And now my mouse is locking up. There we go. Okay, and I'm removing I'm removing those glasses. That's what I'm removing. Okay. But seriously, if you're enjoying this, even though it's going to be multi-part, please let me know. I'm just trying to find things to keep you guys engaged and keep you coming back and all that good stuff. So I'm going to like do my little intro things, and then I will say hi, and we will get busy. And I know that you just come here because you want readings, and you just have to put up with me for the first 15 minutes. Anyway, one of the things I've been saying is that, the sessions that I'm doing here are just little baby general mini readings. If there are things going on in your life, whether it's a health issue, a relationship problem, you need some guidance on how to move forward, or you're confused about stuff, it really doesn't matter. I will talk to you about anything except dead people. Please go to my website, reach out to me, soulhealer.com. That's soulhealer.com. And drop me a line of you can set up a time for a private consultation. While you're there, don't forget to sign up for my newsletter. And also down below, I have all of my social media links, so I'm Dr. Rita Louise on Rumble, I'm Psychic Doc on something, but go to YouTube, go to my Facebook page, go to my different social media accounts. I started becoming more active on Twitter. So if you're a Twitter person, I'm Dr. Rita Louise on Twitter, and I'm going to make a screen for that. But please follow me, like me, do those things. And what I recommend to people that are listening to this show but want to participate in the action and join the chat, the easiest place to do that is on YouTube by going to my YouTube channel, Just Energy Radio on YouTube. That's 3 words, Just Energy Radio. On Friday night at 7 p.m. Central, click the live button and it will allow you to enter the chat area. And I can see it and I can respond. And how fun is that? Okay. Oh,